When I was young, I believed that life was easy. I thought it would always be that way. My father had money, so I never worried about anything. I didn't study much, I didn't work, and I didn't think about the future. Everything I wanted, I had. If I saw something nice, I only had to tell my father, and he would buy it for me without asking questions. My friends sometimes told me, "You should plan for the future. Life can change." But I would laugh. I couldn't understand why they were so serious. Why should I worry? Why should I work? My father has enough money for all of us, I would say, and I truly believed it. Every morning I woke up late. I stayed in bed until breakfast was brought to me. I watched television for hours, sometimes until the afternoon. If I felt like going out, I would call my friends, and we would eat at the best restaurants. We wore expensive clothes, drove fast cars, and went wherever we wanted. Life was a game, and I thought I was winning. I never considered how the money came or what sacrifices were made to provide it. I simply lived for the moment, without thinking about tomorrow. If I wanted to travel, I traveled. If I wanted new shoes, I bought them. If a new phone came out, I got it on the first day. Always the best model. My father paid for everything. I never thought about his work or how hard it might be. I never asked him about his business. My mind was always on my own comfort. I thought my life would always be like this, easy, comfortable, and full of pleasures. Then one day, something changed. My father called me into his room. He was sitting quietly, looking serious. "Sit down," he said. I smiled and asked, "What is it, Father?" But he didn't smile back. His face stayed calm, but there was no warmth in his eyes. It made me feel nervous. My father had always been kind. He had never spoken to me in a strict way before. Something felt different this time. He took a deep breath and said, "You're not a child anymore. You must think about your future." I laughed a little. "Father, I have everything I need. Why should I worry?" But he shook his head. "No, my son. You have everything because I work hard for it. But life is not always easy. One day things may change." I didn't understand him. I thought he was simply worrying for no reason. "Don't worry, Father," I said with a smile. "Nothing will change." But he didn't smile. He looked at me for a long time, then said quietly, "We will see." I didn't know what he meant. I thought maybe he was just in a bad mood, so I left the room without thinking much about it. That night, I went out with my friends, laughed, and spent money as usual. I didn't know that my life was about to take a turn I never expected. The next morning, I woke up late as always. I stretched, picked up my phone, and saw messages from my friends inviting me out. I smiled, put on my best clothes, sprayed my expensive perfume, and walked downstairs. But in the living room, my father was waiting for me. He looked serious again. "Sit down," he said. I sighed. "Father, I have plans today," I told him. He didn't respond to that. He only said, "You are not a boy anymore. You must learn about life." I rolled my eyes. "Father, I know about life," I said, but he shook his head firmly. "No, you do not." Then he said something unexpected. "Come with me." I followed him outside. He walked to his car, and I got in beside him. I didn't know where we were going. He didn't say a word. As he drove, I looked out of the window. The city seemed different that morning. I noticed things I had never really seen before. People walking quickly with tired faces. Workers sweeping the streets. Men selling food at small stalls on the roadside. Before, I would have ignored these scenes. But now, for some reason, I was paying attention. After a while, my father stopped the car in a part of the city I had never visited. The streets were narrow, the buildings old, and the air smelled of dust and smoke. People looked tired. My father pointed to a man selling fruit from a wooden cart. "Look at him," he said. "He wakes up before dawn. He works all day in the heat. He does not rest. He does not complain. He works because his family depends on him." I stayed silent. Then my father showed me a small shop where an old woman was sitting at a sewing machine. She was mending clothes. "She has been working for 40 years, he told me. She does not have much money, but she works every single day." I looked at her hands, rough and dry from years of sewing. Her face was lined with wrinkles, but she didn't stop for a second. I had never seen people like this up close before. I had never thought about what their lives might be like. My father turned to me. "Do you see now? Life is not easy for everyone. Some people work hard every day just to survive. And you, my son, have never worked a single day in your life." His words hit me in a strange way. I wanted to respond, but I didn't know what to say. For the first time in my life, I felt small. Something inside me shifted. I didn't fully understand it yet, but I knew I was seeing the world differently. We got back in the car. My father didn't speak. I sat quietly, my mind full of the images of the fruit seller and the old woman. I kept thinking about their hands, their faces, their endless work. I had never considered what life was like for people who didn't have the comfort I took for granted. After some time, we stopped again, this time in front of a tall building. It was my father's office. I had been here before, but only to visit him briefly or to ask for money. I had never stayed long. We went inside. The office was busy, people walking quickly, phones ringing, papers stacked high. My father took me into his private office and sat down. "Do you know what I do every day?" he asked. I shrugged. "You work," I said. He nodded. "Yes, but do you know how hard I work?" I stayed silent. "I wake up early every day. I make important decisions. I solve problems. I take care of this company, and I do all of it for you," he said. I looked around the office. The workers looked focused, stressed, and tired. Some were talking on the phone, others writing reports, all moving quickly. I had never paid attention to these things before. All I used to see was the money in my hand, not the effort behind it. Then my father handed me a small notebook. "From tomorrow, you will work here," he said. I laughed in disbelief. "Me? Work?" But he wasn't joking. "Yes, you will start from the bottom. You will learn." My eyes widened. "But I don't need to work," I protested. He shook his head firmly. "You do, because one day I will not be here. And then what will you do?" I didn't know what to say. I had never thought about life without him. I had never thought about responsibility. The next morning, my life changed. I woke up early for the first time in years. My body felt heavy from the lack of sleep. I dressed and went downstairs. My father handed me a small bag. "Your lunch," he said. I stared at it. "Lunch? Can't I eat at a restaurant?" I asked. He shook his head. "Workers bring their own lunch. And today, you are a worker." When we arrived at the office, he didn't take me to his big office. Instead, he led me to a smaller room filled with desks. People were working on computers, typing, checking papers. A man wearing glasses approached us. "This is Mr. William," my father said. "You will work under him." Then my father left. Mr. William didn't waste time. "Come with me," he said. He walked quickly, and I followed. He showed me a small desk and a chair. Then he put a huge stack of papers in front of me. "Check these numbers. If you find mistakes, mark them." I stared at the pile. "All of these?" I asked. He nodded. "Yes, and work fast." I sat down and began. At first, it seemed simple, but after an hour, my head hurt. The numbers all looked the same. My eyes felt heavy. I wanted to stop, but I couldn't. Everyone else was working nonstop. Nobody was chatting. Nobody was resting. It was nothing like my old life. This was real work. By lunchtime, I was exhausted. I opened my lunch bag. Simple food, nothing fancy. No expensive drinks, no gourmet dishes. I ate quietly. Around me, the other workers finished their meals quickly and returned to their desks. No long breaks, no luxury, just work. I missed my old life, but I also felt something new. Respect. These people worked hard every day without complaint. The afternoon was even harder. My back ached from sitting. My hands were tired from writing. Mr. William came to check my work. He found mistakes. "Do it again," he said. I wanted to argue, but I didn't. I just nodded and started over. When the day finally ended, I felt completely drained. But deep inside, I also felt different. For the first time, I understood that money did not come easily. As I walked out, I saw my father waiting for me. He didn't ask how my day was. He just smiled. And for the first time in my life, I smiled back. Not because something was given to me, but because I had earned it. The next day, I woke up earlier than before. My body was sore, my back stiff, and my eyes heavy. For a moment, I thought about staying in bed. My old self would have pulled the blanket back over my head. But something inside me said, "No, you have work to do." I got dressed, combed my hair quickly, and went downstairs. My father was already sitting at the table with his tea. He looked at me and simply nodded. "Good," he said. That was all, just one word. But for some reason, it felt like the best thing I had heard in a long time. When I reached the office, Mr. William was waiting at my desk. "You were slow yesterday," he said. "Today, work faster." I wanted to roll my eyes the way I used to with my father, but I didn't. I sat down and began working. My head still hurt from looking at numbers, and my back was already starting to ache, but I kept going. This time, I focused more carefully, and by noon, I had finished my stack. Mr. William checked it and found fewer mistakes than yesterday. He didn't smile, but he said, "Better." Just one word, but it felt better than any expensive gift I had ever received. During lunch, I sat with some of the other workers. They talked about their children, their bills, the prices of food. Some laughed, some sighed. I listened quietly. These were conversations I had never heard before. I had always spoken about cars, fashion, and vacations, but now I was hearing about school fees, rent payments, and long working hours. It made me realize how different my life had been, how far away I had been from the real world. The afternoon was harder. Mr. William gave me even more papers. "Let's see if you can handle this," he said. My hands were tired, my eyes burning, but I kept going. I told myself I wouldn't give up. I wanted to prove, to him, to my father, and maybe to myself, that I could do this. By the end of the day, my back hurt so much I could barely stand. But Mr. William looked at my work and said, "Not bad." 2 words, and yet they made me feel proud. When I stepped outside, my father was there, as usual. "Tired?" he asked. I nodded. He smiled slightly. "Good," he said. This time I understood what he meant. He wasn't happy that I was suffering. He was happy that I was learning. Days turned into weeks. The work didn't get easier at first, but I got stronger. My body adjusted to sitting long hours. My eyes learned to focus longer. My hands moved faster. I made fewer mistakes. Mr. William noticed. He didn't praise me much, but when he said "good job," for the first time, I felt like I had won a medal. I started to understand something important. Before, I only saw money as numbers in my wallet, as things I could buy. Now, I saw the hours, the effort, the problems, and the decisions behind every coin. I saw my father differently too. I noticed how early he came to work, how he handled problems calmly, how everyone respected him. I realized he wasn't just rich. He was a man who had built something with his own hands and mind. Sometimes my old friends would call me. "Come out with us. We're going to a new restaurant." I would tell them I couldn't. I had work. At first, they laughed. "Since when do you work?" they teased. I just smiled. They didn't understand, and I didn't need to explain. One afternoon, as I was leaving the office, I saw the fruit seller my father had shown me weeks before. It was hot, and he was wiping sweat from his forehead. Yet he still smiled at customers and handed them fruit carefully wrapped. I looked at his hands, strong, rough, and tired. For the first time, I truly understood the meaning of dignity and hard work. Months passed. I started handling more responsibilities. Mr. William began trusting me with more important tasks, not just checking papers, but helping organize small projects. I still made mistakes, but I learned from them. I stayed late sometimes, finishing work without being told. I no longer saw the office as my father's place. It was my place too. One evening, my father called me into his office. He studied my face for a moment and said, "You've changed." I stayed silent, unsure what to say. He continued, "When you first came here, you were lazy. You didn't care about anything except your comfort. But now, you understand." I nodded. He was right. I wasn't the same person anymore. Then he surprised me. He took out a small key and placed it in my hand. "This is your office," he said. I stared at him in shock. "My office?" He nodded. You are ready for more responsibility. You have worked hard, and now it's time for the next step. The office was small, nothing like his, but it was mine. My own desk, my own chair, my own work. I felt proud, not because of the size of the room, but because I had earned it. The key wasn't just metal, it was trust. It was proof that I was no longer just his son living off his money. I was becoming someone capable of standing on my own. The new role wasn't easy. I had to guide other workers, solve small problems, and make decisions. I made mistakes, but I learned from each one. I stopped fearing hard work. I started enjoying the feeling of achievement. The more I worked, the more I respected those who worked around me. Looking back now, I laugh at my old self. The boy who thought life would always be easy. I know now that life isn't about waiting for things to be given to you. It's about working for them, building them, and appreciating them. My father taught me that lesson not with words, but by showing me the world outside my comfort. Today I'm ready for the future. Not because I have money, but because I know how to earn it.